thank you so much. It's certainly been, a super exciting couple of months. And, it's my pleasure to be here at the London App Summit, even though it's virtually. But yeah, hi, everybody. My name is Julia Gonzalez, and I am a growth marketing manager for Bumble. And in this presentation, I hope I can provide you with ways to disrupt your current strategy and seek the value of growth hacking. So without further ado, let's get it started. Right, so this will be the agenda for today. I am going to be giving a little intro about Bumble and where we currently stand, moving to a definition of growth hacking and what it means for a dating app like ours. And then we're moving on to another level, pinpointing best practices that I truly believe on as a growth marketer. Cool. So let me introduce you to Bumble. Bumble is one of the world's largest dating and connection apps with millions of users globally. We have 42 million active users on Bumble, an average of over 150 million messages sent on Bumble every day, and 1.7 billion first moves have already been made on the app. Bumble is also available in more than 150 countries. So, when we're talking about millions of users, that's a pretty big number. And that means that we need to think about how do we reach all of our possible users. And one of the critical things here is that you need to figure out who are these users and how they'll be accessing your experience. So that's when we move on to growth hacking. This is a term that we have got used to using when intending to speak about suddenly increasing one of the key metrics, be it users, revenue, retention, whatever it is. However, the real key to growth hacking is thinking outside of the box, coming up with solutions that will break through your current tactics in order to bypass the cost and time of traditional methods of growth. So when talking about growth within social channels, I'm sure we can all agree it was Facebook that set the bar, and the main, if not the first social channel where companies look to invest, to work out the value of the platform and what's in it for them. And what this pyramid represents is, the real funnel towards user acquisition, which for Bumble never ends in a registration or in an app install, but actually in retaining the user. So like I said, a lot of companies, almost every digital company is seeking to get hold of Facebook at one point or another. The thing is, though, that the majority of the times, they almost launch themselves into advertising in the platform without having previously meditated their key metrics. And I feel like this is the reason that we first need to assess the resources that we can with and figure out how we could max out their usage to our advantage. You do need to develop a reputable growth playbook and then find clever hacks to scale rapidly from acquisition to revenue to retention. Okay, so, innovation is a driver for rapid and profitable growth. And for this reason, I believe that the following are just like starting points towards the retention of our users. So, we already mentioned you need to know your core metrics and what is it that you're looking to grow or optimize towards. If you have ever run ads on Facebook, then you know that the best way to earn a great return is to keep your Facebook CPM as low as possible. And here are some ways to optimize towards your metric. So first, you don't need to be too generalist with audience interests. You want a niche and target audience for your ads. In the case of Bumble, we have particular dating targets, depending on your single status and also considering things such as gender, age, demographics. And then once you've crafted your audience, you can run different targeting tests to see which segmentation strategy works best for you. Retarget audiences as well that can also, benefit from further segmentation and analysis. Also, you need to design relevant creative to your audience and to the current times. Choose video always over static or, A/B test it. When COVID hit, multiple brainstorming sessions went on at Bumble involving all teams from design to product to acquisition to work hard to figure out the best way to talk to our audience, given, the current circumstances. And I'd say as well, you need to A/B test everything on site. I'm always really thorough with this, from audiences to campaign events to platforms where you want to show your add-ons. You need to do it on a very, very regular basis to have clarity of, the landscape where you're advertising and their preferences. So once we had kind of like going through every step of the process, that's when we started working as fast as possible to find new areas of growth. So we became blockers and tacklers by tweaking and optimizing nearly every touch point. During 2020, we never stopped figuring out ways to continuously tease our strategy and challenge it. And that's why in the next slide, I'll present you with some of the tactics that we found worked the best to our advantage when hacking growth on Facebook. Okay, so first of all, we moved from, we tested every single campaign event possible. So we moved from an app install only campaign structure to campaign targeting different events in agreement with the KPIs that we had been set. So we moved from revenue campaigns to day one retention focused campaigns to all sorts, ROI, et cetera, and day one retention was the one that we saw the most benefit on. We continue to see female acquisition grow whilst keeping a very decent cost per user retention. We also introduced multiple lookalike audiences that were based on our internal data as well as AppsFlyer data. And, we moved from top purchasers to highly motivated users, which drove a significant average ARPU. And then we ran multiple theory and hypothesis and multiple, again, A/B testing. So this was really the best way to find out whether changes were actually impacting our audience. We didn't just seed a test into like a wider audience, say like the US market, but we actually strategized and went niche and picked a selected DMA, and that's where we will first test whatever we wanted to before going wider and going bigger. And I feel like the biggest strength of Facebook for growth hackers are their data serves. So, with so many years of engagement and user data, Facebook really is a great place for building and making the most of custom audiences. So really make sure you make the most of Facebook there and the resources that it offers. Now, everyone can agree that 2020 was a challenging year. And with COVID-19 becoming a reality for everyone in March, advertisers, we saw ourselves needing to change our strategical decisions in order to still make our product valuable and relevant to our users. So the following are just like different examples of the kind of creative that we set live throughout the year. And, we had all sorts of ads promoting product features like virtual dating to UGC influencer and, lots of success stories as well that we heavily rely on as well. So we tested multiple variations to project the best performance and, learn from the winner creative to recreate more in the future. So it was around like mid-April that Bumble launched a series of virtual dating tools to help our global community stay connected during social distancing. Throughout the pandemic, we saw that the Bumble community was struggling with, feelings of loneliness as social distancing measures and lockdowns continue. This motivated our team really to double down on Bumble's mission to create a world where relationships are healthy and equitable. And, loneliness has presented itself in such an extreme way over the last year that we have seen engagement go up. And this is just not durable in a pandemic or post-pandemic period. It's just either way, engagement levels are now very meaningful and people are building full relationships via video and audio. And even when people are given the opportunity to return to the offline market, which we can't wait for, we will still see them turn to the Bumble app because it's brought a lot of ease to their lives. Then as for the impact, so all of the efforts, were, allowing apps to deliver nearly a 70% increase in video calls after, the state of emergency was declared the past spring. Additionally, we saw the average time spent on a voice call or video chat was close to 30 minutes during the same time. There was a 16% increase in messages during quarantine, and it was just recently announced that in Q4 2020, Bumble saw an increase in paying users of 32% compared to Q4 2019. So, how did we really achieve these results? Of course, it's important to say that there's always ongoing optimizations cross-platform, cross-markets, A/B tests, and an amazing product team working on constantly improving the app. The pandemic has, if anything, reinforced how important it is for brands to be committed to their mission, like through action and not just messaging alone. And there's really no way to predict what will happen in a post-COVID environment. But what we're confident about is that besides COVID or, lockdowns, the desire to meet people, that's really not going anywhere. So this is my final slide. I wanted to conclude on this quote, because growth hacking is really the way to the future. We need to forget about traditional methods of customer acquisition. In today's data-driven world, there's no wait and see. There's no, wait, let me just run this test. I'll get back to the results later. There's only test, iterate, and optimize. And after all, if you don't build the best growth strategy you can, then your competitor will. So certainly pay close attention to your metrics, to your team, to your sentiments, and continue to invest in the future of your business, because that would eventually mean you're executing toward your own priorities. So that's it from me.
Great. Well, thanks very much for that, Julia. That was really great and good overview of many of the issues everyone's been facing over the last few years. Maybe you just want to stop your screen share and we'll do a few questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
So great. Well, I think there's a couple of questions in there. I've got a question to kick off with. You've all managed to, as you say, adapt to all the changes and the challenges of the last year, and even managed to get to IPO, and everyone's been working from home. I imagine in fact, I know you guys had a big office in London, probably a few other ones. How have you, how have the growth teams and the marketing teams adapted to working from home?
Yeah, and I feel I'm in a funny place to answer that question because I onboarded Bumble remotely myself. So I actually have never been to the office, never met many of the people from our team in person. We are a completely wider wide and global team. So we have, people based in Austin, people based in Russia, people based in London. So we all have to, connect through virtual video regardless, given, where we're based. But it's been, I can only say positive things about it. It's hard to almost think that I've not met most of these people in person because we've managed to connect so well. And it's been challenging for sure, but at the same time it felt almost like we hit it right off from the start. So yeah, no, it's been great.
Great. Okay, well let's take a few questions. So quite a popular one from Nikita. It's asking the dreaded one of how will the IDFA cancellation affect growth hacking on Facebook, as there'll be no LAL anymore on iOS. So yeah, what are you going to do about that?
Yeah, I mean, we're all, like on the edge of our seats about the iOS 14.5 release. Honestly, we are not sure. We are just following the indicated steps from Facebook to get our accounts full up to speed before the release happens, you know, and all that we can do is wait for the data to come through and hope that, you know, we're still able to analyze performance in order to continue to understand our user and our data the best way possible.
Great. And Sammy says, this is brilliant, thank you. Sort of what's next for the Bumble app, and you know, how are you going to push sort of brand awareness on a global scale now? You know, how are you going to develop from here?
Yeah, well, I mean, Bumble's always been huge on brand awareness. You know, there's we have teams dedicated for almost every market where we do have Bumble available. So they'll be best to understand where we're going forward with this. You know, we're constantly launching new features in our app that get tested in different markets in the world. We recently have released a feature called Nighting in the US that connects people almost like a virtual date night, and it kind of like has them play a little game of questions and answers on the app, and you know, it lets our users engage freely with each other, and also takes the pressure off a little bit by almost like pushing these questions on the screen, and you know, you take your seat back, relax, and kind of like enjoy and get to know your dates.
Got it. And in terms of other platforms outside of Facebook, are you starting to explore TikTok or some of the other sort of channels out there? Are you going to be doing more influencer, you know, that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I am just a member of the growth team, and we have dedicated people working towards other platforms. Of course, we are available across all of the social channels, be it TikTok, Snapchat, you know, third-party networks, anything that's, you know, available to us. We'll want to explore more. But TikTok's definitely been setting the bar high as well, and I think it's really worked well for us with regards to female acquisition. So, you know, a great platform to watch out for.
And Nikita has a good question, which is, what's the key metric, the kind of people earlier today, the North Star metric that you follow in your campaigns? Is it creative CTR rules them all? Lord of the Rings fan there, I think, or something else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a super interesting question. And I think, again, there's no one key metric that we follow. It's almost a combination of all. And that's our day-to-day. You know, we have, thankfully, a very dedicated team to creative. So that plays a huge part. But then, of course, we need to kind of, every metric kind of interlinks to each other. So the ones that we watch closely, you know, day one retention, ROI, cost per user retained, you know, we need to keep a cost-effective performance. So all of these are ones that we watch out on a daily basis, but that doesn't mean that, you know, our KPIs will develop as the year goes by.
Got it. And Ashil is asking, how do you approach A/B testing on Facebook, and do you recommend any tools or tips to help do this at scale?
We don't necessarily like use any tools particular to it. So the way we will just go about it is like we will, you know, just set up like either 2 different campaigns or set up different groups of assets, creatives, etc., and keep it on a constant. So, you know, don't just set it to run and, you know, let it sit there, but kind of like optimize daily and watch out for the performance that come through. And then once you take a look at that data, then you will be able to analyze and take out the winner. Always set the winner to continue to roll and add new, you know, new variants to that one.
Okay, great. Well, just remains then for me to say a big thank you to you for taking part today. And well, okay, hang on. There's one more question I think we should take. Okay. What about Facebook versus Apple Search, which Katerina is asking? I guess that might evolve as well in the future. She says, thanks for sharing. Is Facebook more effective than Apple Search for you?
you know, there are different channels at the end of the day, different platforms. I wouldn't necessarily say one is better than the other. They just, you know, we just make sure we kind of have a team dedicated to each platform, and that's what works best at the end of the day.
Great. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today, and look forward to seeing more success from you over the next year. And I hope you can join us at one of our future events, maybe hopefully in person, and yeah, hear from you again soon. But thanks so much.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.